Hi, my name is Thais Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about anxious, preoccupied individuals and how to stop making assumptions that could negatively affect your relationship. So, one of the first things I want to start off by discussing is that we tend to all make assumptions based on our past core wounds. So, basically, the unresolved emotional experiences we have that imprint us, the mind naturally tries to hang on to protect ourselves from things in the future. So, if you see like a bear, is the example I was using in the earlier part of this series, over by the tree in the forest, if you usually walk through that forest every day to get to work or whatever it might be, you know, your mind is not going to think of all the times you walked by and didn't see the bear. Your mind the next day, if you have to walk by that tree again, is going to be on high alert for the bear. And your mind works that way because it's there to try to protect you from worst case scenarios. But as a byproduct, obviously, we see that the mind tends to project worst case scenarios all the time. And in the situation of a bear, it might benefit us to hold on to worst case scenarios on a daily basis in everyday life. When we have so many interactions with people, when we're hanging on to our past experiences from old relationships, childhood traumas, these sorts of things, and we're constantly reprojecting the likelihood of these things recurring onto our external experiences and bringing them into our day-to-day internal interactions, it can become very problematic instead. And it can cause a lot of harm and pain and drama and stress. And in this example, I want to share with you a little bit about somebody I worked with once, and she was anxious, preoccupied. And I want to talk to you a little bit first about what we can do when we understand these assumptions that we tend to make. And once we have the conscious awareness of these things, how we can move to healthy solutions regarding the assumptions we make that we tend to bring into our relationships. And this allows us to create progress instead of feeling like we're constantly sort of enslaved to feeling the same feelings and going through the same patterns and just really feeling hurt and in a space of suffering that we can't break free of because we're carrying these old wounds. So I worked with a mother once, and she was very anxious, preoccupied, and she had an abandonment from one of her parents growing up, and she felt very, very threatened by the time that her daughter was spending with her husband. So the daughter of their relationship, she had her husband and her kids, and the daughter was spending a lot of time with the husband. And the daughter was kind of going through some emotional challenges. And it's not obviously the healthiest thing to feel this way, but nonetheless, she was feeling like that. She was feeling jealous, and jealousy has a lot to do with the survival impulse we feel when we think that something that we need for survival may be threatened. And that's why jealousy can feel like such an ugly emotion at times to feel, because it's painful and it's this survival instinct, and it can feel very heavy and toxic to people because it's such an intense emotion, because it's connected to our perceived fear of losing something that helps us to survive at a subconscious level. And so, we can see in the situation that the mother feels threatened because she's fearing abandonment of the husband or a disconnect from the daughter, because their relationship is getting really close and she's feeling sort of like the outsider. And in an unhealthy situation, which is what she was in, because she wasn't aware of this assumption and where it was coming from, she ended up sort of pushing a wedge between the daughter and her husband, and getting angry at her husband, and, sort of pushing back and sometimes taking out some of her emotional struggles on her daughter. And it wasn't a very healthy path she was going down. But when she realized that she had this assumption that, we're going to all grow apart and I'm going to be the one left out and abandoned, then she didn't go into the survival coping mode to try to drive a wedge there. And she was able to make healthier decisions. And so this looks like, instead of being against the problem, oh no, I'm going to be the outlier, the one excluded, I'm going to lose connection with my husband and my daughter, and then to go into that survival trauma wounded place from having a parent abandon her in childhood, she was instead able to be okay, I see that my subconscious mind is making this assumption. I can see that my mind is caught in this trauma loop. And now what I can do is go have a healthy conversation about what I need to benefit the relationship. And so what she did instead was create healthy habits of quality time with her husband and her daughter individually, and then the family as a unit. And by doing this, she was able to get her needs met from her husband in that time, feel like there was a strong emotional connection, Same thing with her daughter. And then she was also able to create healthy family time where she didn't have to bring her unresolved challenges and issues into the situation. She was also able to question her assumptions. Like, can I really know that because they're getting close, that means I'm going to be abandoned? And really like shed light on some of these concepts that she was believing in because they were based on past familiar experiences. Just because something is the past does not mean it's going to be the future. And it reminds me of this old quote that is by Wayne Dyer. And he says, like, you don't drive your car by looking in the rear view mirror the whole time. And so we have to make sure that we get out of that sort of place in our own selves and in our own minds. So what I want to talk about are some of the top assumptions here that anxious, preoccupied individuals tend to make in their relationships and what we can do about them. And by the way, if you want to do a lot of like deep reprogramming work around these things, around these core wounds, fears, assumptions, unmet needs, how to communicate your needs and work through old expectations that you also might be bringing into your relationship that accidentally pushes people away, then what you'll be able to do is have like more thriving, lasting relationships as a result of working through this stuff. And you can check out our course for free for 7 days. And it's called Anxious Attachment Style Reprogramming Course. And it dives into all of this stuff. And the whole goal of the course is literally for you to remove yourself of these unhealthy things that are accidentally sabotaging your relationships so you can have like lasting relationships with connection and harmony and things that feel really good and feel like wanted and valued and a sense of certainty in your relationships, by taking healthy approaches to these old patterns that we tend to have come up in our programming. So some of the top assumptions that anxious, preoccupied individuals tend to make and bring into their relationships are, I am not enough, or I won't be enough at some point in the future, leading them to often overcompensate. I will be rejected, which again leads to a lot of fear and like coping, and try to think about it. Like when you believe this is a possibility, whether it's an emotional rejection, whether it's like an abandonment type of rejection, somebody leaves a relationship or somebody's no longer interested, think of like how you tend to react when you believe this is going to happen. It's a really scary thing to feel. And if you pay close attention, oftentimes anxious preoccupieds cling further, which actually can sometimes push a person away because you're out of like that homeostatic balance in a relationship that we need for long-term harmony. I will be excluded. People don't care and won't stay long-term. People will leave me or abandon me. I am unloved or unlovable, which is such a painful one to carry, and nobody should ever have to feel like that, quite honestly. And I have to people please in order to keep relationships. So try to notice some of these assumptions, try to poke some holes in them, like see if you can challenge some of them in your everyday life, because when our subconscious mind is believing them, but then we raise them to the level of the conscious mind and we really question them and analyze this and poke a hole in it, we're often able to let go of a lot of these assumptions. We do still want to do the reprogramming work. So we change that assumption from coming back at the subconscious level as well by actually rewiring that narrative, which again, you can do by checking out that course that I mentioned. And again, the link is there below, Anxious Attachment Style Reprogramming Course, on the all courses page there when you click the link. And try to see what healthy solutions you can be for instead. So instead of being like, when I believe that I'm not going to be enough, instead of overcompensating, how about just asking for reassurance from a loved one? Or how about reassuring myself about how I am enough? Like, what healthy action steps can you take instead? Just like when we talked about with the client, instead of just like trying to drive a wedge between the relationships and our family, how about being for a healthy solution by like actually having quality time that you bring in to your relationship dynamics and setting intentions to have that quality time so you can get your needs met and then not feel threatened in that other form. So take some time to do that. It's a great brainstorming activity. Again, we've got lots of tools that really go through it step by step in detail in that course. We have a lifetime promotion that we have going on. And essentially what this does is it gives you access to literally all of our 45 plus courses with all of the workbooks that come with it, all of the subconscious reprogramming exercises and tools. It also gives you access to our 4 live webinars per week and our entire social event calendar, which has social events, study groups, guided morning and evening routines, guided reprogramming exercises, technical support help all the time, feedback webinars where we get to chat with the community, social groups, like just literally a ton of stuff. There's essentially like 2 things per day at PDS. And you get that and accessible to you for life. And so that includes all past courses, all upcoming courses, and then of course the 4 live webinars I mentioned that I do every week with our students to answer questions, to add bonus content, and to really do a much deeper dive into just all the questions that people have. So you can check that out. We have a huge promotion going on. It's literally $1,000 off of our lifetime membership. We don't run these that often, so just wanted to put this out here. We get a lot of questions in the inbox all the time about them. And for people who are already members, if you've joined on recently, you can email our team at info@personaldevelopmentschool.com, and you can ask for any sort of discount rates coming in there because you've just recently signed up, and see if that can sort of fold into your lifetime membership payment. There's different payment plans, scholarship options we always have available at PDS if you reach out to our team as well. So check that all out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in tomorrow's video.